Merry Christmas, and my golly, have I got a fun new gift here. Okay, let me show you this. So, you didn't know about it before, but when I used to get set up, I'd do 2, 3, 4 walks out to pick everything up. And now, everything just fits on this trolley. I can bring the paint. I forgot the plates. I need to go get the plates. All right, so we didn't quite get it down to one trip. We got super close. Well, I mean, hey, you can't have everything. But anyway, everything we need to do what we need to do is in this container. Now, if I haven't seen you since Christmas, Merry Christmas. And if I have, welcome on back. My fancy new trolley. Hopefully, it's gonna be the exact thing I need to make going to some quite wacky places around New Zealand even more possible. Because if you've been around this past year, you might have noticed, even though we're having a lot of fun, we're kind of staying in the same kind of environments. And this trolley, cleverly selected by Shelby, along with the likes of the RV and being able to go to some really, really funky places, is essentially our goal. It's what we want to do, it's what we want to get up to, go to some really outlandish spots in New Zealand and just general wilderness areas and create art in them. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that overall, but providing the ability to do more of that is of course something I'm a wee bit passionate about. I wonder if I can lower this down a little bit. There we go. Just gonna put you to there. Is that where I want you? That's exactly where I want you. Fantastic. Sorry guys, let me just scroll back up here and make sure I'm catching comments. Not in my own little world. Alright. Now, I did have some more work that I was going to do on boats, but over the Christmas period and Christmas Eve, Christmas, Boxing Day, the more I looked at that work, the more I thought, you're done. You're absolutely gorgeous. So yesterday and today, I've been applying the layers of varnish to the Hong Kong boats, but I think we're going to add in a few more pockets of matte paint to it as well. And that way it has this yin-yang between shining colours, flatter colours, and it'll just work quite nicely at different times of the day. But because of that, that leaves us coming up to New Year's, the brand new project in mind. And I have this lovely canvas board that's been prepped and it's ready to have some paint thrown at it. So, it would be my honour to do so. And the picture we're doing today, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit fun. I'm going to show you. Here we go, hold on. Ba, 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 ba. It is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. Love it, love it, love it. I think that's our spot. And now I need a big fat brush. This is one we want to start with, guys. Nice and chubby. And then as we get to that first kind of wild zone, we'll splice down to something a little bit smaller. This is my favorite size of brush. This one here, it says 10. I think that means 10 millimeters. But anyway, there's my finger beside of the scale. Right. And in light of me forgetting a plate, we'll work with a little plastic lid. And the one thing you need to see, the one thing that'll make this all make so much more sense, is the reference picture. Now, you don't always need a reference picture. In fact, sometimes, depending on the subject, it can actually act to hold you back. But that being said, not everything exists better in photo form. There's some things that actually, does it mean 10 strands? It might do. There's more than 10 strands on it, but could do. My shirt's got colour. I was going for more of a muted tone, but if it's got a little bit of colour in it, that's quite fun too. Okay, are you ready to see the picture, team? Now, quite a fun one to be here with, because this photo here, the ISO, which means the sort of graininess of it's quite high, and the contrast on it is also quite high. So I think we can make something special here with paint. Let me show you. So we've got a beautiful, beautiful big lake. And we have a boy leaning over fishing in the lake. And hopefully the collector might pop on. And if he does, he can give us the full story behind it. But this is the boy's first time fishing, so that's quite fun. As I prepare to sleep, Nathan, you're more than welcome to be here with a, that's the fun thing about live though, that at any one point in time, one person could be going to sleep or waking up, and in the other people's environment, it could just be full out daylight. I feel like it's a shame when you do lives indoors as well, because you can't get that sudden change in environment. So we get that here. Steve, first off, Steve, Merry Christmas and upcoming Happy New Year. Now, Steve, I need your help. Steve, I need your help. I need you to tell these lovely people something pretty exciting about a picture here. Now, I've just shown the picture. Everyone says they like it, so it's a very nice picture. But a canvas here, the canvas is being prepared, and it's a pretty special one. And I want you, if you don't mind, to tell me more about this picture here, which is this lad's first day fishing. And Merry Christmas. I hope you got all the gifts you were after as well. Have a great day, enjoy it. It is the day for it. It is. Alex, I'm from the land of the long white cloud, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Now, the fun thing about this as well, guys, the very, very fun thing is, and I've been waiting for it to arrive, but over the Christmas period, it has, which is mind-bogglingly fantastic. They didn't take that time off. It's all here in this little container of mine. Now, I'll show you. I have all these fun, fantastic new colors to play with. Now that means you're going to have to bear with me a little bit, because each one of these colors may need to have its little lid removed to be able to use. Thanks, Seb. I just got full custody of my son and his citizenship, had him since birth and raised him. Wait, is that as of today? Or as of the fishing photo? Regardless, massive step and congratulations. That is a big moment. It's an incredible moment. Congratulations on all the levels. Can you finger paint? Honestly, you can try, and I always thought that actually using my fingers would actually bring me closer to the artwork, and I thought, oh, that's a really cool way to sort of integrate in the artist or more of a physical approach. But actually what turned out to be the outcome is finger painting. It's not as effective as the brush. The brush has these bristles to it, which actually allows the paint to smear across the surface better. And so while we try our very best to be innovative, to be wild, to be different, at the end of the day, you end up coming back to the fact that, a good brush, I like a synthetic brush. A good brush really, really hits the spot. Synthetic means the bristles aren't hog bristles or anything, you know. Sometimes if you avoid animal products too, synthetic can be your number one fantastic one. Let's have a look see at this. This is our first trip. Okay, here we go guys, context of this photo here that we're gonna do layer 1 on today. This is our first trip to the US, and we stayed at my friend's house at the lake in Washington State. On the lake at Washington State. So wonderful, wonderful picture. And the beauty behind it is, like I said, the contrast, humongous contrast. But in the shot, this may be the kind of photo where when we paint it, we can find something just a little bit new to play with and explore. And hopefully by the end of it, we capture our young fishermen and the beauty of this lake, both at once. Anyway, we're gonna kick off with a big fat brush. This was 12 years ago. Now I'm on board. Now we're gonna be using a special kind of paint. This is not acrylic, this is not gouache, this is not e-tempera. It's a very, very pigmented version of a hybrid between acrylic and gouache. So while it looks quite similar to regular paint here, the pigment particles in it, if you imagine, let's get a physical thing. Here we go. If regular paint had pigment particles of this size, just all dotted around in its liquid, this paint we're using, that'd be this size. Bigger lumps of pigment all through it, having the effect of meaning that when light hits it, it absorbs it and maintains its color. It doesn't get a shine to it, it stays potent and strong. So you can always tweak that in the finishing layers as well. You can add a gloss to it, but this will try and lie flat and hold as much color as currently humanly possible. And that's everything I want to do when I paint. I just want to work with potent, saturated color. How old am I? Well, I'm currently, guys, and if anyone new here, this thing behind me, this is my new trolley. So Shelby would watch me shuttle backwards and forwards between a place to paint. And she said, this is just getting silly. I'm gonna buy you a trolley. So this is my trolley. And it's the greatest gift I could have ever asked for. It's everything I need, and it makes painting so much easier. So now I can get set up and go to more bizarre places. But the naughty thing, when you say how old am I, is that was supposed to be my 32nd birthday present. I opened it today, and my birthday's actually on the 12th of January. And she says, oh, just have your birthday early. You need it. So I hopefully enough time will elapse that will allow her to buy me another birthday present. But I think this is my big birthday present, and it's the best present I could have got, guys. We don't often see me moving to different sites, but that's the thing. That is the thing. What if your canvas was on fire? And if that fails, I'll get a glass of water. But I really don't know, actually. It's made of wood, and it should be dry as well, because humid wood would trap and rot underneath it. So fire would be a concern. Okay, he caught the fish right away, ended up catching 6 fish on his first time. Yes, indeed. And oh, yes, sorry, Jay. Merry Christmas, and I'm going to see you before New Year's, but Happy New Year as well. Right, let me stop stalling and do the first stroke here. Into the first stroke. Here we go. First stroke of paint. Now, I've said it over and over again that the first stroke should be technically irrelevant, and it's a culmination of a whole bunch of good strokes. But at the same time, still want a good stroke. Still want to hit it just right. Okay. The question is, do we start down through here, through the rippling waters, on the chair, or on the horizon line? I want it right there. That's where I want it. You can see the brush barely touches it, but when it does, potent blue, potent blue. And because we want to leave our options open for the framing, I'm going to go right around the edge, just like that. Gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. So this is New Zealand timber, but the key to this working is to actually have a layer of this white gesso on the front. If you don't have the gesso, what's going to happen is the paint will first off seep into the wood and lose some of its potency and colour. But second off, and perhaps worse off, you'll reduce the lifespan of the paint. And well, it's fun to just attack things raw and wild, getting the opportunity to actually make a painting last longer. For something so simple as add some white to the first coat. Now, the only difference between gesso as well and any regular acrylic paints, no fillers, so no junk to weaken the paint. It's just raw gesso. And the other one is they'll usually use chalk instead of anything else, which makes the surface, once it's finished, a little bit more absorbent. And if you think of it like a sponge, rather than it actually like running through into the substrate, the wood, it'll sit on top and actually hold the pigment there. It'll look beautiful. Pennsylvania, is that Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania should literally have arrived. I've been watching it. It's arrived in Pennsylvania, and I have not heard if it's arrived at the doorstep yet. But I'm excited to find out, because that should be the very next step for that piece. There we go. Loose and fun at the start too, guys. I see a lot of people start these paintings with so much, not aggression, and sometimes we do start with aggression, but so much tense. Or they come in too passionate from the start, and I get it. I love all these things. I've tried all these things too, but honestly, starting a painting is literally, the approach to it, in my mind, should be the same way you approach a first date. You have not too much intensity, not too much emotion, just the right amount to build up that first layer, and then build out from there. But if you come in too hot, you can kind of lose that chance to give a painting time to breathe. Sounds cheesy, but for some reason, every time we liken a piece of artwork to a good first date, or to love, or to a relationship, it weirdly fits. Weirdly fits. There we go. Gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. That sun's just dipped below those clouds, so now it's just hitting us a little bit, but it's okay. And I've got a bunch of neutral grey that we'll throw on here now. God, it's good to be replenished with my colours. It's Anne. What brings inspiration for a painting? Oh, and also, who's your favourite artist? Okay. I think when it comes to painting, I don't think there's inspiration to paint. I think there's motivation to paint. And I think real artists get inspired by the actual painting process itself. And so if you can motivate yourself enough to stand in front of a canvas, you'll liberate yourself with an endless source of inspiration. And then in terms of my favourite artist, honestly, I want to say Van Gogh, but I feel like I've said that too much. I love the 8 Elvises by Andy Warhol. I think Jason Pollock. Once I realised Pollock was actually not just pure random chaos, he would actually use something called fractals, which are a mathematical thing found in nature in some places, like branches or rivers. And all the paint he applies are applied with this underlying mathematical principle. And so with that in mind, what ends up being the case in Pollock's work is that actually what looks seemingly random, similar to nature on the face of it, actually has deeper mathematical principles lying underneath. That's what makes him special. So let's call Jackson. Let's call Mr. Pollock Artist of the Month for this month. He can be my #1 favourite artist for this month. Now the beauty of this paint too, beauty of this paint, and the reason why we can go a little bit thicker here, and a little bit more naughty with it, is that it is so very low on the fume front. And there is this scariness you can have if you're always around fumes, the damage you can do to yourself. We don't want to do damage. You want to know that if you buy art off the artist, they're not going to melt their brain in the process of making it. That wouldn't feel good. Thanks, Jay. Is your username Goat Cheese? And if it is, I dream of one day. In fact, no, I was going to say I dream of one day of being as enthusiastic about something as you are about goat cheese, but I guess I am about painting, so. Look, I'm stoked for you. Goat cheese, keep it up. Is it feta? Goats make feta, right? That's the... I suppose you can get anything. I don't really hear of a goat camembert, though. Is that a thing? Okay, layer one. There we go. Gorgeous, gorgeous paint. Popping up all the way across that top. Want to get really naughty, we sneak a little bit around the back. Go the whole way. Gorgeous. Right around here. Bunch more. Lovely. And over the top. There we are. All the way to the edges. Gorgeous. I think we're going to dive in with just a little bit more grey. Such a neutral tone, but it just pairs, weirdly enough, so nicely with that blue. You always feel like, I don't need grey. I'll just mix white with black when the time comes. But actually, the beauty of having a neutral grey is it's not just white with black. If you look at this colour here, and you might recognise this from shed floors, actually, there's a teeny tiny bit of yellow, red and blue in different proportions in that to get that colour of grey. So, and you'll know that if you go to a DIY store and go to get your paint and you think, it's just grey. And when they mix it, it gets a little dollop of all the colours. And you're like, how does that, I thought I was ordering grey, why wasn't it just white and black? Because there's little other bits that get that perfect tone that you've got. So, well, it's nice to say you'll mix it yourself. Having some neutral grey on hand, pretty handy stuff. David, welcome on in. And guys, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you got what you wanted from your loved ones. I bought myself a new pair of shoes. Talk about spoil yourself, right? Shelby was like, stop buying yourself things. You're coming up to Christmas, you're not allowed to just buy yourself things. That's fair enough. Don't go buying new undies. Don't go buying new shoes. Or just in general presents before Christmas. This is a naughty thing to do. I broke the unspoken rules. Don't do that. Bit of white here now. Did I open the lid on the white? I think I did. Let me take it off. And after this white, we may chip in with a bit of black, but let's see. All right, you ready? Lovely stuff. Look at that. You can't tell again, but trust me, the potency, le potency of these colors cannot be understated. Even on layer one, the strength alone in these blues, whites, greys, absolutely chronic. We don't mind going a little bit darker, more saturated or light in areas, which is technically all the things. The reason why we don't mind is, ooh, car inbound. The reason why we don't mind, sorry, I lost my trail of thought there, is it's layer one. It's layer one. We're meeting the painting for the first time. And as we're meeting it, we're allowed to be a bit more loose, a bit more silly, all the things. Like a first date. Just don't be too intense with it. Be loose, be fun. Like what I did with Shelby. I tricked her into thinking I was a fun guy. You know how you trick a girl into thinking you're a fun guy? Someone's leaning forward in their chair right now. How do you trick a girl into thinking you're a fun guy? Well, my trick was telling her a lot of mushroom jokes. You'd be a fun guy. Have you ever wanted to slap someone so hard through a phone before? I'm sorry, team. Little G, can I guest? Well, Little G, I love that you're here, and I love your enthusiasm, but unfortunately, you've never been here before, so we don't know if we can trust you. We did have an incident a while ago where we started to allow random people to guest, and they broke the trust for everyone because they were very, very rude. Not to me, but to people, and that's not constructive because we do a lot of work here to make sure we create an environment that's really inclusive, and to leave people out of an environment, yuck. And part of that in me, guys, is not because inclusivity is cool these days. It feels like it's a cool thing. For me, I wasn't part of a lot of high school groups. Kids didn't think I was cool. People didn't want to hang out with me. And every time someone actually let me be part of a social circle or welcomed me into a group or allowed me to be part of something, I felt wanted and special, but it didn't happen often. And now that we've got a little group on here, I'd love to not right that wrong, but I'd love to create something that everyone can be a part of in a wholesome way. And that would be breaking a cycle, in my mind. Find yourself a best friend who chooses you first for sports teams. And if you were never picked first for anything, if you never got that little thing that you always wanted, then make sure when you've got the power to give it, you give that to someone else. Because though it would have meant the world to you, it will still mean the world to them. Here we go. Gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. We might give that a chance to just dry off just a little bit. We're going to come on in with some blacks. See how we're just having fun with it. Now, if this is a first date, we've had the first drink, we've enjoyed the starters at a restaurant, we've maybe walked down the beach a little bit. And we're at the stage where we both think we're all right, but it's time to have some dinner and see what the table manners are like. We're going to do that with the black. Here we go. Where did I hide that? Not in there. It's in the other bag. 1 second. This is the thing. I've got so much paint in here now. I'm so restocked. It's hard to keep up with. And I got some clay. Because now I've got a little niece. Not a little niece, sorry. Shelby's little niece. I've got some non-firing clay that we're supposed to play with over Christmas, but I forgot it was even in there. So, crazy world. Seb, I brought my wife some beads for her abacus for Christmas. It's the little things that count. I was wondering if I had some kind of pun surrounding the butterfly effect. I can't find it. Hold on. Let me think. Got my wife some new beads for her abacus. It's the little things that count. Got my wife some new beads for her abacus or something. You get the joke? Get it? The rebuttal. It's the rebuttal. I haven't got one. You win. Oh no, she was counting butterflies and butterfly, I don't know. Fibonacci sequence. I'm sorry. It's like the gods of paint are trying to tell me. That's what Shelby tells me. You've got to give me more of a chance than that. I'm like, just let me keep saying the joke. It could be really funny. Let me just... The paint gods have sealed this one up very tight. But they didn't anticipate me coming with the crafting tools for sculpture. And I'm just going to literally cut right through this lid. Surprise. You thought you could keep me out, but here I am. Kind of like an oversized Labrador that figures out how to use the cat door. There we go. One div up. Go back on there. That's ready to go. Slide that back over there. And that is our paint. Look at that. One default. And now, the big brush has kind of served its purpose. I'm going to swap down these little brushes I like so much. This is the size we're working with. It's absolutely perfect for what we need. And hello, who's that there? That must be, that's a great name. Sydney Fox. That's a spy's name. It is a spy's name. Sydney Fox. There we go. Feels right to start with these trees. So we're going to dabble around here and just let that span the whole way down to the edge here. We don't mind being quite thick with this black this time around. And letting it push right on and adding some texture, because you can always... Oh, that's a fun thing, guys. This paint here doesn't keep its shape in the same way that acrylics and oils do. So if we add a ton of it on the surface, previously we'd have to tone back texture as we work, but with this stuff, texture at the start, it'll flatten off those sharper lumps, so we can just keep on going, layer after layer, load after load, building up massive amounts of paint on the surface and not affecting our ability to do detail. I love that, because we were always kind of restrained in the early layers to make sure we had the ability to always come on back in our detail, which we lost. We'd lose at the moment. Le momento, el momento, un momento, I don't know, that we would start adding on thick globs of paint. And while I love a thick glob of paint as much as the next man, we couldn't actually do it for more than 2 or 3 layers. And some of my favorite works had actually been deeply affected from the ability not to go further on them because the paint just got too thick. Of course, we did save a few of them in different ways, like Hibiscus Surf, the Shearer, Solar Gullas. We completely altered those because what we did was we put down a layer of resin, which became thick. And that thick layer of resin there made that whole paint layer, which was turbulent and crazy, flatten off. Voila, love that. But the problem with that stuff is actually it can be, it's not as natural as the paints that I normally like to use, which is a bit of a pity. And sometimes it doesn't feel right for certain projects, but for some of them, you see it and keep it in your toolbox. You think, that's what I need. You like it so far? This is good, this is good. But remember, these things change many, many times. At this stage, we've done the initial underlying blues. We're slapping around some blacks. We're not worrying about texture so much. And we'll basically just get this first layer on this picture with this beautiful sun out at the moment. And guys, I know. I promised you guys I was going to come back on Christmas, but Cooper and everyone else, Cooper was just being so cute. Shelby got me that fantastic trolley. I got distracted. I'm sorry for getting distracted. Well, that's nice. We've literally got a famous spy sending roses here. We're a lucky bunch. Thanks, Sydney Fox. A Sydney Fox? A Sydney Fox is better than a fox in Sydney. I'm not sure it would handle a big city that well. Maybe it would. Maybe that's unfair. What's that movie? Paddington 2. You know, Paddington 2, the bear handles the city just fine. So maybe I just need to back off. Maybe that fox has it covered. I reckon Sydney Fox handles it just fine because she's a human. I handle cities quite poorly. I like someone with me who helps me navigate. Because I'm a bit lackluster on directions team. So having someone with me who helps me through that element can be great. There we go. And you can see these blacks, look how potent they are. Basically, down in this bottom corner here, there's going to be this ongoing dance between black and blue. And so rather than you seeing blue, black, finish, it'll be blue, black, blue, amalgamated on top of each other, moving around. And that's going to be way better because you actually won't know which colour came first, which colour went on last. It'll just be this lovely ongoing relationship between them both. And that's the healthiest way to do it. I don't like paintings that, I like being able to tell how any individual brushstrokes made, but I don't want to know how the painting was somewhat started or finished. That's the responsibility of the process we're doing right now. And is that Santa's little hat? Elf's hat. Okay. Who's that? Thanks, George. Appreciate you tuning me into an elf. I'm a good Santa's little helper. It's an honour to be here. Here we go. Let's get that through there. I'm just going to sneak this one up. There's this lovely, lovely change in the trees along this, let's call it a skyline here. The trees just suddenly change. They go from a little block, spiky lumps there, and then we go through a flatter patch where just the occasional one nips up into the sky, and then it continues further, comes up a little bit, as if the land changes there, like a peninsula comes around, and then it gets more, it's bumpy, but a smooth kind of bumpy, before reaching a point just here where it rises up a bit more. There we go, lovely. It just wants to nip up there like that. It's going to go a bit higher. Lovely. And then this part here, that needs filling in just like that. Absolutely stunning. Gorgeous. Alright, and then before I get excited and run off on the next thing, there's this line here. The sea's quite, well, the lake's quite turbulent. There's this one line cut through here that actually has, all I can tell is an area where the wind's not hitting, which happens a lot of the time on lakes. And then underneath that, and this is where a lot of the detail is going to come in, there's these sparks. There's the first initial ones where we actually start seeing the reflection of a few of these trees casting their shadows down to the water. And cutting through them in a pretty fun fashion is this fishing rod, which just wants to head straight out there onto the lake. There's a hand resting on the reel, coming back to the body, and then there's another hand underneath the fishing rod. See, Steve's told him 2 hands on the rod. And then here, haircut, lovely hair coming through here, flicking around this way. There's the head, and then there's a cheek, just like that. The brow, perfect. Coming down here, flicking around to the neck, and then posture's perfect. Sitting up, there's excitement here. He's sitting up, he's ready to fish. You know, rather than sitting back and just not having that thrill, you can tell he's in the moment. There we go. And then just under his arm here, you see the shadow of his shirt coming down here around his arm. Down here. A few wrinkles in the shirt, not a whole lot. We'll get those more with a percussion blue. And then, yeah, scooping across there, all the way down. I've already captured that black. There's our boy. Now, as we add on other colours, that's everywhere where the black fits. Percussion blue, purples, violets, whatever, they'll fit into those other areas. There's a temptation to say, no, it's entirely a silhouette. Not quite right. There's elements of that silhouette which are black, there's elements of that silhouette which have blue, purple, whatever. And we need to actually only go for the things we actually see. If you start painting things you don't see, you're not going to get the actual picture, you're going to get what you think you see. And that's a dangerous place to sit. The name of the lake is Silver Lake, near Mount Rainer. Is that Rainer or Rainer? Rainer or Rainer? And then there's a bob out here in the lake. It's quite a fun one. I like that. Oh, hold on. Sebastian has missed something just over here. The bob from his fishing pole. So if you've fished on lakes before, you'll know that your fishing pole actually has a little thing on the end that when the fish bites it, it goes under the water. You'll also know about that if you've played Pokemon, because in Pokemon, it has that little, the fishing rod goes in the water. Right, next colour, cerulean blue. Who else do we have here? The birds are beautiful. The birds are beautiful. This is New Zealand, and we are known for some absolutely phenomenal birds. There's no, apart from a few introduced pets, there's really no predators here in New Zealand at all, which is really incredible. And part of that's because when all the continents were moving around, New Zealand broke away from Australia, and then as it broke away, it went under the surface, not completely, but it dipped under enough that all the large predators on New Zealand effectively went extinct. At least this is my understanding of the story. And after that happened, wow, that left the birds and the smaller creatures, and in our case tuataras and things, time to actually take over the whole of New Zealand. And we did have a big bird called the moa, a massive 9-foot bird that towered, couldn't fly, but it would run around on 2 legs. Fantastic things. You can still see their skeletons, but we effectively lost all of our larger life forms, mammals and things like that. So when the indigenous people of New Zealand, the Māori, arrived here, or the Moriori's and then the Māori arrived here in New Zealand, there was this phenomenal amount of beauty here and no predators. Can you imagine being one of the first people to arrive in Australia and just having all the stuff that's waiting for you there, as opposed to New Zealand where nothing exists but just peace and beauty? What an amazing place on planet Earth. Mount Rainer, okay, or Rainier. This is where we face the real issue with a live performance. You're like trying to describe a word to me without being able to say it out loud. It would be quite cool if on the lives you could just give people permanent permission to chat out loud. I did try it with that little bot for a while. Honestly, guys, it was a wee bit clunky. Like, yeah. Anyway. There we go. Layers on layers on layers. Just like that. That's what we want. That's what we want. That's what we need. That's what we want. That's what we need. Just like that. Just let that devil through there. It's funny how it starts to feel like it's part of it. We might add a few of those colours into the mountain, so there's this reflection occurring down. That'd be quite fun. And then down in here, not afraid with the cerulean to be just a little bit more bold and naughty with it, because it's not the most powerful blue colour, and so if you don't overuse it, it just won't show up enough in the end result. And Cardi Boo. Welcome on in, Cardi Boo. Is that to do with Cardi B? Or is it Cardi B? Oh. questionable. Alright, there we go. You see how the key to making water realistic isn't just to work on small portions at a time. See that flow into the brush. So you see when we're applying it, there is this kind of movement, and through the gestures that we make onto the surface, you'll get the feeling of water from it. So temptation is just to be like, right, I see this perfect little color, I'll add it right here. No, let the blush, I'm blushing, let the brush flow, and the result you'll get from a culmination of multiple layers on the surface is water. But if you fight for water immediately, you'll never get it. Never, ever, ever, ever. You might get something cool, but it won't be reminiscent of water. So be very careful forcing yourself onto those kind of things. Who else do we have here? Logan. This is New Zealand. This is New Zealand. And I'm from New Zealand, which is a lovely, lovely place to be from. And how is it still sunny over there at 7 p.m.? Is it 7 p.m.? Wow, is it 7 p.m.? It can't be 7 p.m. Is it 7? No, it's not. No, it's not. Is it? Good morning from Germany. I've been to Munich, loved it. Love what you've got going on. Love it, love it, love it to bits. And I had some fantastic, arguably the best, me and Shelby when we went to Beer Fest. See, I know, very basic of us. And we had the best sausage that you could ever imagine in Germany. We had a whole bunch of places recommended to us to go get sausage, and we went through them all, tried it all. And I'll tell you what, the rumours do not disappoint. Germany does a very good sausage. I never seen myself as much of a sausage guy. I like ribeye, well not ribeye, I like rump steaks and Scotch fillets and things if I am having meat, but I really did warm to a German sausage. I thought there's actually something special with this. You give them different names, I couldn't pronounce any of them, but there was just, they were quite meaty, but the spices weren't overpowering in them. We have a butcher in New Zealand called the German Butcher, but again, I think going to the source, going to actual Germany, it's like saying, I guess it's like, not like wine, because you bottle that, so it really wouldn't be any different. If you have a New Zealand wine, it's the same as my New Zealand wine, but I guess it would be the same as kiwi fruit or New Zealand lamb. You know, it's very different having it overseas versus fresh in New Zealand. So I think there's an element of that. The German sausage, absolute treat. And the German beers, big beers. Too much for me. You me get all bloated. But I'm excited they were there, and I had one, maybe more than one. Wow, I've just returned and so much has happened since you've left. Yes, you're right, time passed. The sun moved from about a 30-degree angle down to a 15. It'll dip a little bit further, but for now, I'm just gonna keep playing. But you can see, guys, we're not after definition at this stage, we're just having fun with it. The one thing that will stand out in abundance in these earlier layers, unmissably, look at the environment around me. That sky is potently blue. This grass is potently green. So you're seeing the saturation of nature, some ferns and things, the potency of nature. Look at the colors on the surface. The reason I point that out is it'll really show you the potency of these paints we're working with. You can't get that from regular acrylics. They just cannot handle, or gouache. You just cannot get that level of pigmentation. So to be able to do it here right now, mwah, love that. Love that to bits. Now, one thing we're doing, because the pigments have got quite cold, you've got those blacks in there, you've got the blues. I want to get a bit of the titanium buff in there, which is where these little bits of these tanny colors are coming in. And I've grabbed a little bit of yellow. Now, into the blue, it's going to go slightly greeny, that's okay. But we just need to start getting a little bit of that crispy yellow coming in for that sunset. It's going to be too intense. Please believe me when I say it's going to be too intense. We will tone this back, but the initial acknowledgement of the sunset is what this yellow is standing to do. Even if it comes off greeny, And then when we come back, we can splice over it with a more intense yellow. And this will act as more of a support color in the background. Without it, yellows look weird, they get too strong, but you can kind of see that lovely green tinge actually making this a... Ow! I just had a bug crawl up my back and bite my foot simultaneously. You see me go like this? It was like a... I'm no Robert Irwin. Robert Irwin's watching the stream going, oh, he's a real outdoorsy kind of guy. And I start striking Aphrodite poses because bugs bite me. He's like, oh, not quite actually. I used to not mind snakes one bit though. I got pictures of me when I was, 6 and 7 with snakes wrapped around my neck, just smiling away, happy as. Now I need to grow up. That's the thing. What changes you to not mind it as a kid? I've never been bitten by a snake. They've never harmed me. They've never been... Is it just social media? And maybe I've started feeling snakes are more dangerous? Is it... I don't know, I think we teach ourselves these fears. I think it's like the likes of, everything. Singing. I know it's a far cry from snakes, but jeepers. The amount of times I've thought to myself, I can't sing. And you know what? I'm not a great singer, but I can sing. I'm not as bad as music teachers in high school may have made me think. And the same might go for you with dancing. You just need to get out there and dance. Son, the world is waiting for you. You can be fantastic. You don't need to be the best dancer. And I feel like the issue that comes in is we usually judge people when they try and do something like a self-expression thing, painting, singing, dancing. You're not the best at it. You're not as good as so-and-so. You never have to be. It was never about being the best. When did we ever want that? Why was that even a reference point to use? Those things should only be calibrated or valued on how much fun that person's having, how much fulfillment they're getting, how much joy they're getting. Because from that, we can directly figure out how much joy it'll give everyone else. If they're getting magnificent fun joy from it, they will definitely permeate that on. It is contagious in all the ways. It's got bitten again. Are you kidding me? Oh. See, I am Robert Irwin. I brought tropical strength fly spray. He'd probably just tough it out, to be honest. There we go. I'm just going to stand back a little bit because I don't want this stuff here to actually end up on the painting. You can get things like sand in the painting because sand's actually quite stable and it will actually just add a nice little texture in wherever it lands. This stuff though, this is chemicals, but we can't guarantee that this stuff is actually archival or that it will be any good in between, underneath or on top of paint layers. So if you don't know, keep it away. I was listening to a really nice guy actually, but he was yarning about how a lot of artists that he was making canvases for were doing it by mixing mediums and things in ways that would never dry or fully set or last long term. And he said it was really unfair because these clients buy this artwork kind of expecting it to go the distance. And then when you build it in a way that it's not going to, is that some kind of planned obsolescence built into the art? I don't think you should do that. I feel like you should at least, not that I think anyone could pull you up in a legal battle on it, but you should at least do your very best at the time to make sure you're making art that will last for as long as you believe humanly possible. I feel like that's important. Your team completed the first stage of Team's quest. Cool. I love TikTok when it says these outlandish things. I'm glad we're doing well at Team Quest. I believe in teams. Now the one other colour I want to add in here a little bit of is our medium red, Rojo Medio. And then the other one that's going to play a role in this shot, especially around where the sunset's happening, is going to be our, oh, so simply named, Peach. That's the tone there. So it's very, very simple, but it's a lovely, lovely tone. And when you're capturing, this is going to feel naughty, because if I say this, I don't want anyone, if you're an artist, grain of salt. But peach is an absolutely perfect color when it comes to capturing the reflection of the sky on some waters after kind of 5 p.m. If I show you this one here, after I show you this, please don't run off and only use peach, but it's a nice secret weapon. Look here, we have the blue waters, we have those black contrasting areas in it. We have the skyline piece, the buoy, and it creeping in through these waves here. But if you look over here, now we've put down that yellow to start with, and we've underlined a lot of blues in the early layers you see there. But if I bring the actual photo up, you see how peach is hanging around in there? Yeah, you've caught me. You've caught me. I'll tell you the coolest thing about this background though, Greg. Now, we are actually really, really good at making green screens in New Zealand. They're outrageous. Let me show you this. Our green screens are so good, we literally make them out of green environments. This is literally a plant in New Zealand, but we use it in green screens. Partially because we have so much of this, so much greenery to use, that I guess we couldn't afford an actual green screen. In fact, the wild thing about New Zealand is that it would be harder to get a green screen in behind me than have this. What a weird place to live, that this is easier than a green screen. It's a crazy world out there. I'll show you this by the way too. Let me just spin you around a little bit. There's a couple of plants here. I forget their names, but as winter approaches, these two are going to be key players in what we do on this channel, because they will be one of the only ones in this whole garden to keep their color when we go into winter. And they've got these coral patterns that appear on their actual branches and trunks that make them look like they're kind of, well, coral, essentially. They're wild, wild things. So I'm looking forward to actually pegging myself in between those two and just using that as a little studio. But right now, in the heart of summer, it's just straight up hot. Everything's green and lovely, so we don't need to do that. All right. Good old colours. Question coming in there. What got me into painting? What got me into painting? A lot of things got me into painting. My brother, during the COVID lockdown, was trying to impress a girl. And I hadn't painted for a long time. I'd left it. I didn't think it was masculine. I didn't think it was manly, or I didn't want it to... I had pushed it away in this weird projected sense of who I thought I wanted to be. And for my brother to impress a girl, we brought out the paint supplies and we did some painting. And then I realized in my late 20s that actually I'd created this guise around myself of who I thought I wanted to be. And it was ick. And actually, I do love painting. I love singing. I love dancing. I like being silly. I like being geeky. And suddenly, more and more in my life, I craved expression. So, next thing you know, I was caught up in a second COVID lockdown. And in the second COVID lockdown, I was trying to set up a live stream to share painting with my brothers, and so they could be a part of it. So we're all locked down in different places around the world. Anyway, what ended up transpiring was I put the stream on public, and then everyone started joining in. Everyone. All over the world. And I didn't mind at first. I was just painting in I was in a restaurant storage shed in New Zealand, and it was about 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was stacking paint around. And what happened was I look at the screen, there's 6 people there. And I'm like, that's nice. Cool. hey guys, oh, one guy's from Denver, that's lovely. Who's that there? That's lovely. And then next thing that happens, I glance back at the screen and there's 23,000 people on the other side of the camera. And I just froze like this. I'm like, and this stupid grin comes across my face. And I just kept painting with a smile. And the comments start going up like this. And people are like, he's high, he's definitely high. He's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. Oh my God, what's he doing? Who is this? And anyway, all I could choke out in the middle of the painting session was, I'm not high. As if to make it very convincing. Anyway, I wasn't. I was just scared and stuck and confused, and it was just all on. And since then, I think I've got over that a wee bit. I think there was this epiphany that slowly dawned on me that actually, if you could be your real self and be a bit authentic and just real, just whoever you really are, if you can be that, then you'll find your people. But the worst thing that can ever happen is if you make art, or if you actually pretend while you make it, or whatever you put out there on social media, whatever it might be, if it's not you, what's going to happen then? You're going to find people who don't love you. They love this weird manufactured version of you that you've made. And then all of a sudden you need to keep up this weird appearance to appease them in the hope that one day you can be yourself. Barf. Like, where's the pleasure? Where is it? Where does it come from that? And if only we could get that into more high schoolers, that if you can just be unapologetically you, you'll find your people and you'll be so much happier for it. You know, I didn't need to go on a 10-year, maybe I did need to go on a 10-year little journey to figure out who I was, but I don't feel like it needed to be that long. I feel like I could have embraced my nerdy, happy-go-lucky, quirky, dad-jokey, stupid, whatever person earlier in the piece. But regardless of that, guys, I'm glad we're here now. And it's pretty cool that I can be here slapping paint on this canvas. And I just need to have a good time with you guys. We can just hang out here. And there's this robot inside the phone that I'm talking to right now that just literally so it's the TikTok one, that just literally connects us. Goes, oh, so-and-so might like this. Oh, another person might like this. Isn't that just insane? If you told Monet, Van Gogh, Picasso, any of the greatest artists of old, that all they would have to do is just press play on a phone and the phone would connect them with an audience all around the world who might love or need the arts process or the art itself in their lives, they'd shake their head. They'd call it cheating. This is cheating. I mean, I know there's challenges when it comes to art, but you got to remember Van Gogh worked tirelessly in a basement day after day, plugging away in a studio, making art that for the most part, a lot of people never ever saw. Do you feel like it would have been different? Just slightly different if Van Gogh had a live TikTok stream? I reckon it would have been. I'd watch Van Gogh paint. I would watch Van Gogh paint. What time of the day is it here? So I've just been told that it is the disgustingly late hour of after 7 p.m. So, and I've spent way too much time yarning about feelings, far too little time slapping on as much paint as I want to get on layer 1. So we're not going to call this layer 1. We're going to call this layer 0.5. And I like how some areas have this kind of funky dotty detail and other areas are still quite loose and wild. That's my favourite part of a painting, and this sort of difference between two different zones. Art Scott says hi from California. Well, hey back, Art Scott. Lovely to have you here. Steve, 6:43. Oh, it's 6:43. We've got forever, Steve. the night is a bit young. Now, our biggest challenge right now is that in the next kind of 15 or so minutes, the light will change on us and just fade away a little bit. There's this perfect little window, which, if we're being completely honest, and perhaps a little bit rough on me, there's this perfect little window of about 2 hours, that if you hit it bang on, you get the most gorgeous light you could possibly imagine. Now, in my case, I didn't hit it exactly. I was probably about 45 minutes late. And in the same way, Van Gogh was just so bent up on making sure he hit that mark for his sunflower paintings. There was a 4-hour window where the flowers were right and the light was right. And in that moment, he could paint sunflowers. But everything outside of that, waste of time, wouldn't touch it. So, what are we going to do with this actually? What's that there? Oh, interesting. I think we can play with this. It's layer 0.5, so let's just be a little bit naughty with this color. This is classic. I forgot that I was ambitious enough to select this wild token color. This is magenta. I'm just going to let this sneak into a few little spots, because we're not really going to explore magenta too intensively. If it sits there in the background, it's going to come into the final result in these little subtle, sort of sneaky ways. Magenta is going to be one of those Easter eggs that when the painting's finished, you'll spot after looking at it for a while and go, is that actually... Did he sneak some? He did. That's what will happen there. Yeah. If you could speak bird, they'll all be in their trees saying, who's that obnoxious idiot down there in our paddock? We're trying to get to sleep. Big day of hunting for worms. I can't remember where I heard it, but there was this great saying, the early bird gets the worm, and then the second mouse gets the cheese. But in terms of the bird, the funniest thing is, it was like, don't worry about being the early bird. There's so much worms out there you don't even realise. They're everywhere. You don't need to get up early. The early bird got up for the first worm. There's going to be a second and a third. Don't worry about it. And I'm inclined to think that's actually, depending on what you're trying to catch, I feel like worms aren't in short supply. But maybe they are. I've never tried to catch a worm before. Maybe I just don't know how sacred, scarce worms are. And that, you know what? I'm going to shut my mouth until I've gone and caught a few worms. And when I actually know how scarce worms are, I'll come back to you with an informed opinion. Not one that could be complete lies. And for all those birds who are watching this podcast, all those birds who are watching this live feed, keep on catching that first worm until I've verified otherwise. Don't stop. Don't you dare stop. Neuro Jr., welcome on in. Right, where are we going to go next? Let's just swipe this in there. And then there's, now that I'm going to the titanium buff, mix it with magenta. This lovely, soft, kind of tannish violet colour. I'm not be afraid to sneak that just around here, just a little bit. Get a little bit too ambitious, I don't mind that. Sneak that one down over the edge, just for now. That's lovely. That's having a really, really fun start. I like where we're at. George Scott said, yeah, right. I'm lost. I'm so lost. Is that person fishing? I'll steal your milk, G. Okay. I got a question. Is that all kinds of milk that you're stealing there in your username? Or is it simply just, I'm thinking cow milk. If I drink oat milk, am I fine? Guys, terrible news. Oh, on 1%. The phone's about to die. Right, team. This has been fun. You pack of legends. Your friend wants to get better at painting. Any advice? Billy, message me on Instagram and I will promise I'll get back to you. But any advice? If you're having some fun, your friend wants to get better at painting. Any advice? Billy, message me on Instagram and I will promise I'll get back to you. But any advice? If you're having some fun,